Have you ever felt completely overwhelmed? Like you've given everything you have, only to end up running on empty, hunted by your own anxieties? You look for a sign, a miracle, a loud voice from heaven, but all you hear is the deafening roar of your own chaotic world. You feel lost, broken, and utterly alone. What if I told you that the God you're searching for in the earthquake, the wind, and the fire isn't there? What if He is waiting for you in the one place you've forgotten to look, the silence? This is the story of a prophet who learned that lesson the hard way, and it's a story that could change everything for you. Let's talk about Elijah. This wasn't just any prophet. This was the man who called down fire from heaven on Mount Carmel. He stood fearlessly before a wicked king and defeated 450 prophets of Baal. He was a spiritual giant, a champion of faith. But right after this incredible victory, something inside him shattered. The queen, Jezebel, threatened his life, and the man who faced down an army suddenly found himself fleeing in terror. This is a powerful lesson right from the start. Even the strongest believers, the most successful people can face burnout, despair, and crushing fear. Spiritual highs don't guarantee an easy life. In fact, sometimes the greatest battles come right after the greatest victories. Elijah ran into the wilderness, sat under a tree, and prayed a desperate prayer. "It is enough, Lord. Take my life." Have you ever felt that? That feeling of being so completely done, so disillusioned, that you just want it all to end? Elijah's cry shows us the raw, human heart behind the legendary prophet. He was weary, he felt like a failure, and he was searching for meaning in his suffering. And how does God respond to this broken man? Not with a lecture. Not with a command to toughen up. Before God gives Elijah a sermon, He gives him sleep. He provides shade, and an angel brings him food and water. Twice. This is one of the most beautiful pictures of divine compassion in Scripture. God meets us right where we are, in our physical and emotional exhaustion. He knows that sometimes, before we can handle a spiritual truth, we just need rest and a meal. He cares for our bodies as much as our souls. Strengthened by this divine care, Elijah travels for 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Horeb, the mountain of God. This isn't just a random journey. It's a symbolic pilgrimage. He's retracing the steps of his ancestors, going back to the very place where God revealed His law to Moses. He's going back to the source, searching for an encounter that will make sense of his life. He arrives and hides in a cave. This cave represents so much. It's the cave of isolation, of fear, of confusion. It's that place we all retreat to when the world is too much, when we waiting for God, but we not even sure what we waiting for anymore. It's in that dark, lonely place that God finally speaks. And He asks a question that cuts straight to the heart. "What are you doing here, Elijah?" God already knew the answer, of course. This question wasn't for God. It was for Elijah. It was an invitation for him to pour out his pain, his frustration, his sense of failure. God wanted to draw out the poison of his despair so He could begin to heal it. Elijah unloads everything, his zeal, his loneliness, his feeling that it was all for nothing. Then comes the moment of revelation. God tells him to go and stand on the mountain, for the Lord is about to pass by. And then the spectacle begins. A mighty wind tears through the mountains, shattering rocks. But the Bible is clear. The Lord was not in the wind. Then comes a terrifying earthquake, shaking the very ground beneath him. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. After the earthquake, a raging fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. Elijah was looking for God in the power, in the spectacle, in the same kind of dramatic display he had orchestrated on Mount Carmel. He was looking for God in the noise. But God wasn't there. He doesn't always shout over the storms of our lives. And then, after all the chaos, after all the noise, a sound. The original Hebrew is famously difficult to translate. Some versions say a still small voice. Others, more literally, describe it as a sound of sheer silence. A gentle whisper. Imagine that. The absence of sound became the very presence of God. In that breathtaking, profound stillness, Elijah finally found what he was looking for. He wrapped his face in his cloak, went to the mouth of the cave, and listened. This is the core of the message. The divine presence often speaks in quiet, not in spectacle. The world screams for our attention with endless noise, distractions, and anxieties. We think we need a louder sign, a bigger miracle. But God often waits for us to be still. He invites us into the sacred space of silence, where our hearts can finally hear His gentle, loving whisper. True renewal isn't found in performance or in striving. It's reborn through presence, through simply listening. After this encounter, Elijah doesn't emerge as a superhero. He's the same man, but something has fundamentally changed. He has a quieter, deeper faith. He receives new instructions, a new direction. His despair is replaced with a renewed sense of purpose. He learns that his journey isn't over, and that he isn't alone. God reveals that there are 7,000 others who have not given up. His perspective is restored. Elijah didn't find God in the triumph of his victory, but in the tenderness of his brokenness. This story is a timeless invitation for every anxious, overwhelmed heart. When God feels absent, when your world is loud and chaotic, maybe He isn't shouting over the storm. Maybe He is waiting in the whisper. Maybe He's inviting you to find a quiet place, to step away from the noise, and to simply be still. Because it's in the silence that we often find the strength, the direction, and the peace we've been desperately searching for. The whisper of God is still speaking today. The only question is, are we quiet enough to hear it? Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of silence. If this message resonated with you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more content that seeks the sacred in the still places of our lives. Be blessed and be still.